Long story short, the pilot jet did not come out easy. I totally broke that post into many pieces. Now I gotta fix it. The 80s called. They want their bike back. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the 1983 Yamaha XJ650 Turbo restoration. I noticed in the last video that all of the fuel lines are dry rotted. The guy I bought it from said that the carburetors need cleaned. Garage is a little bit of a mess right now. I've got this bookshelf in here that I just built. I think I'm gonna have to start by pulling off this other side panel. I'm pretty sure there's only one bolt holding it on. Yep, there's the bolt. So now this whole thing should just come right off. And now I guess the next thing to do would be to pull the gas tank off because it's also missing a bolt. I think there's only like one or two bolts holding it on. Well, there's that lid thing. This bike's so easy to disassemble. There's just no bolts holding anything on. I'm just gonna start pulling stuff off the bike until I can figure out make sense of any of this. So start off by pulling off this fuel pump thing. I don't know if that helps me yet, but seems like next we're gonna have to remove the back of the airbox thing. Okay, now I'm gonna undo this hose clamp, which is connected. There's some hose, I don't know what it's for, to remove this little airbox coupling from the turbo. Yep. Okay, I'm gonna remove the surge tank, which is right here. First, we've got to disconnect it from the turbo. Now I'm gonna loosen up these clamps holding the surge tank to the carburetors. And then I know that I'm gonna have to pull the line off the surge tank there. I'm also gonna go ahead and loosen up the carburetor boot clamps in case maybe the carbs want to just go on and slide right out. We'll see. And there's so little room here. Well, there, we got the fuel pump removed. We're gonna have to remove the choke and throttle cables from the carbs. Now I just have the throttle cable. Might as well pull this hose off. It's just getting in the way. Oh, making some headway here. Oh my gosh. Yep. There's the surge tank. This is where the boost goes into here. Air box, air filter goes into here. There's some reeds in there. That's what controls the vacuums for idle, and then when you get into boost, the reeds close and all the boost pressure goes through it here into the four carburetors and blows through the carburetors. Let's get these carbs on the workbench and see what kind of work they need. Okay, here we go. We've got a set of carburetors with a fuel pressure regulator because there's a fuel pump. We've got to check the top rubber diaphragm. Since these are CV actuated carbs, they have a rubber diaphragm on the top throttle slide. Throttle slides work on a vacuum from the engine, so if this diaphragm is ripped or has any holes in it up top, then that means the bike would not run right. There it is. I don't see any signs of any ripping or tearing, so might be okay to just leave it in there. If I pull this off, I might be able to have a look at the throttle needle. Oh, there is gas in them. Oh man, that's gas that spilled out. It smells real varnishy. Pull that throttle needle out with a pair of pliers. Okay, looks like these carburetors have non-adjustable throttle slide needles. Since these are non-adjustable, that means we really have nothing to do up in the top portion of the carburetors. Although you can put spacers under these. And these all look pretty much fine to me. Wow, bowls look pretty clean. A little bit of crud in the bottom. Let's pull the main jet out. Have a look at that. Looks like it's a 150 and it's clear. See the light going through it? Okay, now let's have a look at the old float needle. Nice. Pin came out easily. Good. Here's the float needle. Looks good. Float needle seat. You also gotta check these O-rings in here. Man, that needle seat was hard to get out. I ended up having to kind of destroy it to get it out. The O-ring is super hard. These are the fuel inlet filter screens from my old GS850. These are actually the old ones. I kept these just in case I needed them someday. Today is that day, guys. It happens to be the same exact one. So I'm going to be able to clean these guys up and use these since I destroyed this old one here. Let's pull off this fuel line doohickey thing. So we're gonna need to replace all these fuel lines and inspect this valve thing. Okay, now let's go ahead and pull off the other bowls. I'm just gonna do the same exact thing. We're just breaking these carbs down, disassembling what we can. Try a little penetrating oil in there. Maybe that'll help me get these valve seats out. It's almost out. Oh, okay. Ooh, that one came out really easily. Almost gotcha. Ah, there it goes. Oh, looks like one of the idle jets is coming out. Okay, there's one of the idle jets. Man, those are weird looking. Now I'm gonna spray some carb cleaner into these carb bodies, into all the orifices, just like this. And we're just gonna let this stuff sit and eat up all that varnish. Okay, now I've got the carbs and the bowls outside. I'm just gonna blast them off with some carb cleaner, and then using a brass brush, just gonna scrape down the inside of the bowls and just get them all nice and clean. Now it is time to actually clean and set up these carburetors. And the best way I've found to do that is use an air compressor with a rubber tip. Now I'm gonna take my carb cleaner, spray it in here, which is I think the overflow thing. I don't know. See, it's connected with this hole here. So yeah, that's the overflow. Then we've got the drain screw. Spray a little carb cleaner through there. Now compressor time. Alright, this bowl is good and clean. O-ring on the valve screw looks good. Now I just have to do that to all the other 4 bowls. Well, 3 now. Bowls are clean. It's time to clean the carburetors themselves. First we gotta remove those idle jets that I could not get out before. Well, this one's definitely clogged. I cannot see any light through it. Gonna try hammering into that brass with my flathead because these idle jets are stuck in there now. Yep, it actually worked. 35 idle jet. Let's see what the other one says. The other one also says 35. Looks like all the idle jets are number 35. We've got one last stubborn one we got to get out here. Well guys, I got the pilot jet out, but as you can see, I f***ed up the carburetor really badly. But good news is, I got that pesky little pilot jet out of there. I literally broke off an extractor inside of it. I'm just gonna go ahead and pretend like that never happened and clean the rest of these carburetors out. Now, compressed air through each individual hole. Now I'm going to clean up all of the little pieces and parts like the pilot jets, the main jets, and these little fuel inlet filter screens. It's all got to get cleaned out. Not even air will clean out this pilot jet. So what I'm going to do is just try to use a steel wire brush. Just use the wire from it. There we go. We've got the wire through the jet. That was loud. Sounded like a firework. Okay, time to reassemble these carburetors. First off, I'm going to reinstall these float valves, needle seat, screen things. But these O-rings that are on here are all hardened up, so we got to get these guys off and replace them with new ones. I recommend everyone goes and gets one of these O-ring sets from Harbor Freight. It saves you a lot of money on having to buy carburetor rebuild kits. You can just buy one of these and you've got basically all the O-rings you need. Okay, that was definitely a tight squeeze, but we got the small one on there. Now it should fit down inside the carburetor body. Yep, it's a perfect fit. Whoops. And let's replace the needles. Float needle valve. And then these little keepers. And the floats can go back in. Then these three idle jets that aren't all mangled can go back in. Number 35. There we go. I'm not going to tighten these down at all. Just going to tighten them up until they're seated. According to this forum, the main jets for cylinders 1 and 4 are supposed to be 127.5, and cylinders 2 and 3 are 132.5. The reason they have the inside two cylinders slightly richer is just to keep those inside cylinders cooler since they don't get as much air on them. We've got a number 130 for the cylinders 1 and 4. And then for cylinders 2 and 3, the inside ones, we have numbers 135. I don't have those. Those are very precise numbers. I've never seen halves on jets before. So I think 130 and 135 will do just fine. The jets I pulled out of these carbs were like way bigger. They were probably both 135 or even 140. So I think 130 and 135 is good for the main jets. Then let's check the float height. I'm going to set the carbs on their sides. Make it so that the float tang is just barely touching the top of the needle. I'm going to set my micrometer to 17.5. Then I'm going to set my micrometer with the metal post on the gasket surface of the carburetor body, and then the other side measuring the plastic float. Check both sides because it could be twisted. This one's good. That one's good too. This one is a little bit high. See how it's bouncing up and down? So all we've got to do is get a little flathead, bend that tab up, and then recheck. And that is perfect. First, I'm going to spray everything with carb cleaner one last time. Then a little air. These posts here, I found out, are actually to supply fuel during choke, when the choke's on, for giving a little extra gas on startup. Now, if we turn on the choke by pushing this rod forward, and spray air through that fuel rod. We can hear it's flowing through. Close the choke, and there's nothing. One last spray out and a blowout, just in case anything got in there. Now I'm going to tighten these the rest of the way with my hand, with the Allen wrench. I don't want to strip those out with that impact driver. I pretty much know that I'm going to have to pull this last carburetor off to fix it, so let's go ahead and just remove it from the rack. Oh yeah, we got to loosen up this choke set screw thingy. Well, there's the carburetor off the rack. It appears that all the O-rings are good in here, so that's a good sign. In order to repair it correctly, let's remove anything with soft parts such as these O-rings. There's the choke assembly. One last thing I can do to these guys is kind of look through this little thing and reinstall it once it's all good and clear. We also have to replace these crusty fuel lines. You can see that one just broke. Make sure there's no gunk in there that I can't see. Okay, now let's clean up this fuel pump. There's a little fuel screen filter in there that I'm not going to be able to replace because I doubt you can buy these. It must have been from the gas tank. See it? Rusty, weird chunks. We got all those out. There you go. Now that filter's nice and clean. Let's spray some carb cleaner through the fuel pump. Get some air through there. Oh yeah. Reassembly time. Let's get this regulator and check valve bracket thing back on. My aluminum welding rods came in. These are low temperature brazing rods for aluminum. I'm going to try that out for fixing this broken carburetor body. I've got the broken pieces that broke off. I'm going to kind of just roughly stick those in. Got to get it to like 800 degrees. Let's see what we can do. The bolt came out, but in the process it pulled all of that solder stuff away from the original carburetor. Even though it seemed like it was sticking, I don't think any of that stuff actually stuck. Gonna have to move on to plan B. 60 bucks for this carburetor body. What? We gotta do it if we want to ride this bike. Alright guys, I really wanted to get the bike running again in this video, but as you guys saw, I damaged the carburetor. Thank you guys so much for watching this whole carburetor debacle. If you have any tips for me on how to repair that broken carburetor, please comment down below. See you guys next time. Peace out.